994, the talk of Central Queensland. Joining me in studio for the first time, but no stranger to a 4RO studio, James Ashby. James, how are you?
Very well. I must admit, the last time I was in 4RO studio, I actually remember the old desks being taken out and the technicians pouring out this old, you know, the cigarettes after they've been burnt,
Right.
and all the ash.
Yeah, right.
Was in the actual controller desks, and it was everywhere. I couldn't believe it. You've got all this modern stuff now.
It's a few upgrades,
Yeah.
But you're no stranger to 4RO. You worked here back in the day, not this building, obviously, but early 2000s?
Yeah, and Paul Sweeney, who's working back with you, was my old GM.
What's old is new again.
Yeah, you bet.
Fair enough. Let's talk about some important stuff this afternoon. Crazy few days, not only in Rocky with the police car crash the other day on Saturday night with the stolen car from Mackay. A couple of cases in Sydney, not only the Bondi Junction case on a Saturday afternoon, but then last night as well. What do you make of it all? It's just unbelievable, isn't it?
Well, I asked the question to a couple of people, what the hell is happening with society? What path are we going down? Look, the majority of us all think that this is madness, and you're right to think that. But the problem is it seems to just be getting worse. And to think that if you're sitting in the back pews of a church and you've got to be worried about some mad young 15-year-old that wants to run in with a flick knife and inflict serious, it's deadly force upon somebody. How anyone didn't die last night is just beyond me.
It's quite astonishing. I think that there are some lessons to be learnt taking from those cases back here, though. Mm-hmm. And one is the case of drugs. It's been speculated that the person on Saturday afternoon was on drugs at the time. Now, whether or not he was, yet to be fully known. But the case of drugs in general, when you lax laws on certain crimes and you get outcomes from those crimes, I don't think you should be shocked. And this is a question I've asked the government multiple times. Labor last year, they weakened the drug laws in Queensland to make it a 3-strike policy, basically. If you get caught with illegal drugs for the first 2 times, it won't go on your criminal record, and only the 3rd time will it go on your criminal record. You now advance to the stages where we have pill testing in Queensland. So clearly there is a concerted effort to make this totally appreciated and understood among society that this is okay, when clearly it's not. And if you treat something that affects only yourself as a health problem, I understand that. But when it has potential to cause others harm, surely that's a criminal issue.
Well, they're making excuses for sports stars now, even in the AFL code.
Yep.
You know, you get these free chances before they actually let you go from the code. It's almost like governments, particularly Labor and Green governments, and that's what's happening now. They're as good as one, Greens and Labor. They're making excuses for people. I grew up in a generation, I've got no doubt you did too, where your parents said, don't do drugs.
Yep.
There's a reason for that. They're likely to have an adverse outcome on you as an individual because none of us are built the same. You're different to me, I'm different to you. Pills, ice, cocaine, doesn't matter what it is. See, they've legalised all that now in Canberra. Every single one of them is now something that you get a slap on the wrist, no court appearance, and you're done. Here in Queensland, this Labor government think that it's acceptable for us to go and pill test, and yet they've just gone and spent $15 million on a drug rehab centre here. We are setting a really poor standard when it comes to governance. If on one hand you're saying it's okay to take pills, we'll test them for you to make sure it's okay. And on the other hand, you've got coppers outside a festival, for example, with sniffer dogs trying to track down people bringing drugs into a festival. Which is it? What do you want to do? And $15 million on a drug rehab centre here in Rocky that's got 42 beds. Do you know 1 in 6 people have done drugs this year? 1 in 6. And do you know the saddest part about it? They actually now do that survey on 14-year-olds and older. 1 in 6. 14 and older. That's where those stats are coming from. I can't help but think that it's setting a really, really low bar for society in the future. And we all know that drugs lead to bad things. They can either lead to the worst thing, which is death. But, you know, something that we saw on the weekend with that bloke that killed 6 people in Bondi Junction at the shopping centre there. Now, he was schizophrenic to start with. Anyone with those sorts of symptoms should never take drugs. And if you don't have a mental illness, there's a good damn chance you're going to end up with one if you start playing with illicit substances. It doesn't make sense.
Not only that, but I think it was you who a few weeks ago on air with me said if there is a pill testing site outside a festival and someone takes their drugs in to get pill tested, surely the only answer by the people there are, this is not safe because they are drugs.
There is no safe drug because, again, it comes down, I don't know what reaction you're going to have to that drug. I don't even know what reaction I'm going to have to that drug if I was to take it. And at the end of the day, we've got a Labor member in both seats here in Rocky and Keppel. You can't tell me that the member for Keppel would like the idea of her daughter slipping down to the local festival as she gets a bit older and having pills tested. It's not the message I think any member of Parliament should be sending to any kid. The message is pure and simple. Don't take drugs.
The other issue that's gotten a lot of attention recently, and you actually told me this a couple of days ago, you were driving along the Bruce Highway. Now, we've had a bit of rain recently, but the state of the Bruce Highway is an absolute schmozzle. Now, Aaron pressed the Prime Minister the other day when he had him on. Beef Week's just around the corner. A lot of politicians are getting ready to put their Akubras on and come to Rockhampton. Surely this is an issue that we target over the next couple of months.
I tell you what, if I don't win the seat of Keppel in the future months, I'm determined to go and open a windscreen shop because I reckon that is where the money is. Brand new windscreens, because honestly, every time you hit that Bruce Highway for any distance, you're bound to get a crack or a chip. And it just beggars belief. Oh, and by the way, if I can't open a franchise in a windscreen shop, I might as well go and start a wheel company, like a bow repairs or something, because honestly, the amount of cars that need wheel alignments after you travel to Brisbane down on that Bruce Highway is just disgusting. It's not a good look. Here they are wanting to spend billions of dollars on an Olympics to showcase our state, which will have so-called long-lasting benefits to the southeast corner, yet they can't fix our highway here.
Lots of issues to address, that's for sure. James, great to have you back in a 4RO studio.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
It's nice to be back. Thanks, mate.
You're listening to 990 4RO.